All right, how you doing? My name is Franklin Cruz. The Bible in 11 words. I'm going to give that to you right now. Be righteous, have integrity. The devil is the ego, spiritual side, and just be love. But now I'm going to break this down because I found that this has really worked for me. And I've got a lot of people that have asked me questions pertaining to spirituality, just between a lot of things that I went through in my own life. So if you don't know me, my name is Franklin Cruz. I'm a real estate developer. I've been on the front page of the newspaper on some of my projects. Had a street named after me on Cruz Court, and we sold the KB homes for $1.25 million. And I am a huge believer on there's certain reasons why things happen, right? And so I'm going to break down in this kind of series. It's a little bit different because I grew up in a very religious family. And so I believe some of the things that I've learned through this journey called life that we're all on, that you're watching this, is interesting. And there's some things that I personally, when I was reading the Bible, I always felt like I had to decode it and figure out what was going on. And then I started reading other spirituality books and thought processes, and I've went through, Tony Robbins and self-help, landmark education. And so what I learned was, just like I'm sharing with you, is there's some core concepts that are common threads throughout what I have found, all spiritualities, all cultures, all things related to just being a good human. And what I mean by that is, what I found was there's 11 words that really matter, right? So the first thing that I had learned, and again, I've read a lot from the Bible, I read about Hinduism, which is actually not a religion. I didn't know that. It's kind of more of a thought process. Big time into psychology, DSM-5 and DSM-4. If you've never read it, highly recommend. Great. Even lost books of the Bible, Gospels of Thomas, the Quran, I needed to read the kid story of the Quran because I didn't understand it. History of civilization have read as well. Taking my own notes as well. So I'm only going off of, and even I've just started, the Ethiopian Bible, which is the original 88 books instead of the 66 books, and how it got voted in, blah, blah, blah. So I'm only talking about my perspective, and this is only in my opinion. So, and I'm not poo-pooing on anybody. I'm just sharing with you what I have found through my journey of not being a real estate developer, going through a divorce, feeling like I was the modern story of Job, everything was going wrong in my life, and how did I get through with it without canceling myself, I would say. And what I learned was the 11 things that really matter. So the first thing is, that is the common thread throughout all of the concepts I just kind of studied and went over with you within the Bible, all of it. What I have seen is, for it says, well, let's go back into the devil's within you, right? It talks about that in Quran, it talks about that in the Bible, it talks about that in different religions or different thought processes. For I didn't even know Buddhism is not a religion, it's more of a thought process and a spirituality way of feeling and thinking. Hinduism is the same thing, right? And so what I found was, the first thing is, if it says in the Bible is the devil is within you, what does that mean? And I want to keep this short because what came up for me was, how do I simplify this for my own kids? How do I simplify this for other people rather than what I see, the turmoil that happens and the conflict? So the first thing is, the devil is within you. At the end of the day, when I studied this and I thought about it, was like ego. Ego is the trick. So if the ego is not there, if there is no ego, right, then usually everything always works out if I cut out my own ego. So if I'm not thinking about myself, but I'm thinking about other people, I'm thinking about other things, the ego is not there. So it actually always works out. So ego is the enemy. Ryan Holiday has a great book on that, highly recommend. So that's the first thing. So ego has to be cut out. The other aspect, it says, for the righteousness has the ear of God. And it doesn't matter what aspect of a book that you read pertaining to this, for the righteous. And what does righteous means? So righteous means integrity. So if you have integrity, that means everything's going to work out. But you have to be righteous. So righteous, if you have righteousness and you have the ear of God, that means that you have the ear of somebody. That means you have the closest aspect to having influence on that thing or being or person, is having the ear of somebody. That's why you know somebody by their partner, meaning that partner has that other person's ear. So if that person has that ear, then that's a big deal, right? You've got to look at who has the ear. So having the ear, having the closeness, and it says this throughout all of the contents that I have read. It discusses this, and so what came up for me was that means integrity, and integrity means integrity means doing the right thing when nobody else is looking. So always just doing the right thing. So if you cut out your ego and you always have integrity, everything always works out. It does not matter. Like in my life, it has been that way since I've been documenting this since October 1st, 2018. And I've been documenting this because I wanted to prove was my theory actually correct? Because I felt like I kept on having to decode the Bible, and I felt like I had to keep on going to different services and religions and different, I had to find my own way. When I went through almost a 5-year long court battles of divorce and all this other stuff, I had to discover my own way. And what I discovered was, what if everybody's wrong and I need to find my own path? What if everything is hiding certain things, So why don't I just find out what is the truth for me? And so that was the truth that I discovered, was ego is your enemy. Kill your ego and have righteousness. Righteousness means have integrity. And then the last thing is be love. Well, what does that mean, be love? That means actually truly loving your neighbor, like actually really like show love, help somebody, help people. Like actually look at, I think that's why I do so well in the real estate game, and is because I truly care for the other person. I'm trying to do my best. It's like, how do we create a win-win scenario? Period. And I want you to win. And every time I've ever done that, I've always won hugely because I'm truly looking out for that person, which is a spiritual principle. It doesn't matter what different religion, different language, different culture that you have. Every culture has a different belief system that they believed as a young child. But when you get older, you can make up your own mind, especially now we have all the access to education, so it's up to you. So again, be righteousness, be integrity. Kill that ego and love, truly love. And I believe if you follow this and you test it, you always can collapse that ego. You always can have integrity in more things than not. And then the truth is, be love. It doesn't matter what is going on. Be love, have integrity, and kill that ego. I promise you, everything will work out. So there's a little bit of a different content, but I'm going to start bringing up things that I believe in. At least 20% of the time, you're going to get some of this content as well. So if you enjoyed it, if you got something out of this, please share it, like it, and we'll take it from there. My name is Franklin Cruz. But you enjoyed my 11 words that, to me, that's the entire interpretation. That is the underlining between all of the beliefs that I've seen of our human nature and our humankind. Especially being an Army veteran, I was able to travel across different cultures and different religions, Operation Iraqi Freedom, seeing the Middle Eastern culture, Asia when I lived in Korea for 2 years, went to Japan, and also throughout the United States, seeing different cultures and belief systems. None of them are wrong. What I say is that, but what is the common thread that we can all agree upon? All right, bye.